Hi, I'm Claire Hedin. Thank you so much for watching this presentation on dynamic emergence. If you would like more information, you will find my contact information at the very end. And in the meantime, please take whatever you can from this to inspire your own work in the world to save our beautiful planet, our beautiful forests, our beautiful water, and life as we know it. Thank you. Hi, I'm Claire Hedin, and welcome to Dynamic Emergence. Dynamic emergence is the process of creativity and novelty arising through us and the implications of that as it affects our evolution. The question is, how are we here and how are we being here? Experiencing multiple dimensions of reality through life's processes of creativity and, of course, our own. We have certain ways of knowing that lead to certain ways of being. We also have certain ways of being that lead to certain ways of knowing. The ways of knowing are rational, emotional, and sensory. They lead to the ways of being that allow us to think and to feel emotionally, and also to sense vibrationally the subtle energies of connection. We have a very clever design. And through that clever design, we get to know things right inside ourselves about the whole of life and about each other. That's called the inner res. Res standing for rational, emotional, and sensory. There it is. Rational, emotional, and sensory. Who is in charge of that? Well, you are. Inside of you is this capacity to know. You use it all the time. You've been using it ever since you were tiny. Does everybody have it? And how do we share it? Well, yes, of course, everybody has it. Otherwise, we couldn't function. But how do we share it? We share it by coming together when we meet each other, when we go shopping, when we drive a car, buy a bus ticket. Any kind of transaction, there's an interaction going on, and that's happening in the outer res. We're creating a shared field of reality, and we're doing this together all the time. This is literally non-stop interaction, whether we're thinking about it or not. This is called the marketplace of life because it's transactional. So you can see it right here. That yellow bubble is that outer res, and inside that are two people having a conversation. Me and you right now. So why does this matter right now? Two big reasons. The first is because we're actually missing out on some pretty amazing stuff. And the second is because something dangerous happens when we overemphasize one of those ways of knowing over the others. It is time to understand our shared consciousness, the fact that we have shared consciousness, and that we have an essential creative nature. And it's time for us to understand how we affect each other and all of life because of this shared consciousness and because of our systemic nature. We are in a systemic environment. Earth and the planet and life itself is systemic, meaning everything relies on everything in order to maintain itself. Ultimately, we're at a point where we are looking at our own evolution and whether or not we're going to leap forward into a new way of perceiving ourselves or stay where we are and potentially destroy the planet. So what happens to us when we connect? Well, we're sharing energy and information. We're doing it creatively, but as I just mentioned, we might also do it destructively, depending on our level of awareness. We are experiencing each other and affecting each other all the time. We grow or reduce our possibilities together across time and space when we interact. And the thing is, with the three ways of knowing, when one dominates, when only one of those three ways of knowing, rational, emotional, and sensory, dominates, it literally becomes the inverse of itself. In other words, the logical becomes illogical, the empathic becomes sociopathic, and the sensory can become violent. We lose that ability to feel and sense and protect life. Our thinking minds, feelings and senses travel through dimensions of reality, and they are creating new realities together moment by moment. Using our imaginations and our ability to think and feel and sense. But is this just for us? Is it only humans that get to have this awareness and this consciousness? Or is it perhaps in all of life's aliveness? Our potential is collective because of this shared consciousness. Our collective consciousness is human. So what that means is that we're having a human experience of the larger collective consciousness within the bounds of our specific human design. And that is true for every being that is on this earth. We are each uniquely designed, and we are each uniquely bringing something essential to life's system in order that it may maintain itself. So what does this have to do with our creativity? Well, there is a force that is in us and it wants to generate itself. It's energy. It's an energetic force, universal. It expresses itself outward. It travels through us, and then because of how we think and feel and sense, we then express that outwards. We relate to it through that thinking, feeling and sensing, but also through our intuition. We create things with it, and we affect each other's fields of energy with it too. However, our consciousness is also planetary. We share it with other living beings, all life. It's all alive. So where does this shared knowledge actually come from? And who and what does it affect? Well, it affects the planetary consciousness, it affects planetary wellness and its potential to maintain itself. Some people still wonder if the planet's actually alive, if it feels and thinks and knows. So let's think about that. If the planet can generate life, intelligence, novelty, empathy, and relationships, it must be alive, intelligent, novel, empathic, and relational. And Earth, like any living being, needs a home too, a source of inspiration, information, and nurturing. A place of belonging. That is the cosmos. All of us belong in the cosmos. It is our great container. And of course, the cosmos is intelligent and creative too. It's alive. All through this energy interacting, the energy is our vitality. And where energy interacts, it creates new languages. Those languages show up as form, adaptation, interaction, biology, chemistry, music, art, words, and vibration, and many other things. We learn by listening deeply through our own special ways of knowing and interacting with it. How we do that, how we interact with it, is what makes each of us uniquely creative and human. Our ways of knowing and being are how we improvise with life, as part of life, like jazz musicians. So, is that how information travels and form becomes form? Is that how you and I became form? We are all part of this intelligent creative aliveness, this living system. We inform each other, which is more to do with the intellect, and we enform each other, which is that we co-create ourselves in each other's company. We become together. How do we connect with all of this? By exploring our not knowing. So I've talked about the knowing, how we know, but even more important than that is how do we inhabit the space of not knowing, beginner's mind? Well, firstly, we have to really become open-minded, open-hearted, and in a visceral kind of way, open to new information coming in. We have to allow the energy to travel through us and learn how to feel it. We need to learn how to know the languages of energy, using our hearts and our minds and our senses. It's literally one giant cosmic conversation. We can read some of the energy with our intuition. And our rational, emotional, sensory and intuitive knowing actually connects us to, most importantly, a deeper knowing. We do this using our rock star imaginations, that thing that everyone told you when you were a child. You know, stop dreaming, stop daydreaming, focus, get things done. Well, our imaginations are actually the way we travel between dimensions and between types of information and ways of being. It's also about using our intuition and our ways of knowing to experience the creative vibes, as in vibrations, of the planet, of life and the cosmos. This is where we can listen for our collective wisdom. All of that embeddedness that you see here is what we actually have access to all the time. This wisdom connects us to it all, to the whole of life. And as we know, the basis of any good collaboration is mutual connection. That mutuality where you come together with curiosity and creativity to listen, to learn, and to co-generate. One might still ask, how is this useful and how does it really affect us? Well, firstly, the positive is that it brings us so many gifts. It brings us our creativity, our wonderment, our curiosity, and our intelligence. It brings us our relationships. It brings us into the giant conversation, a cosmic conversation. And cosmic conversations are really cosmic collaborations. So as you can see here, our intuition and our not knowing are mutually interactive. They sort of generate one another. You need them both. We need them both. But how else might it affect us? Well, this is the part that matters right now. This is about right timing. When we don't know that we're part of the cosmos, part of the earth, and part of each other, we use that energy that travels through us to create things that don't sustain life and that harm the living relationships. Because everything is non-local, and that means it's everywhere, and because energy permeates everything, it actually is connecting everything. And that connection means that everything is affecting everything. We cannot escape it. We can fight it, but we cannot escape our connections. So we can use our human ways of knowing, RESI, rational, emotional, sensory, and intuitive, to respond to what the planet, to what life and our collective feels, thinks, senses, and needs. Also, we can use it to respond to what each of us as individuals is feeling and thinking and sensing and needing. By caring equally for all ways of knowing and being, we become whole too, connecting to all the levels of being and belonging. We do this in love and respect. So really, what a complex and amazing place this is to be fully alive and fully conscious. My name is Clare Hedin, and as an artist and a healer, I feel a responsibility to share what I know, and I hope you're doing the same thing with whatever it is that comes to you to share with people. Quite often I do work that's non-verbal. I like to sing. I like to enter that numinous space, the planetary consciousness, the cosmic consciousness, where words are no longer needed because the visceral nature of our interconnectedness can be felt through sound. Thank you for taking the time to consider the ideas presented in Dynamic Emergence. And if you wish to take it further, and I hope you do, you can actually come to dynamicemergence.net and you can do the courses that are online at any time you please. Thank you so much for the work you do for the planet and for life.